Right, Kris, Russell Martin's gone. Was it the right time to sack him?
Yeah, I think it was, Chris. I mean, obviously you weren't at the game yesterday, but you kind of got the feeling that, obviously with the fans outside the ground, they've been protesting for a while. They've made their feelings pretty clear over a number of weeks now that, the Russell Martin wasn't their favourite. But I think, it comes down to winning games of football. We've all played under managers. We've all had teammates that you don't particularly like, but if you're winning games of football, you don't really care. Ultimately, for Russell Martin, they've not been winning enough games. Hence the reason why he's been relieved of his duties. But yeah, I think you could maybe, if you could see signs of improvement on the pitch, then that you could build a case for there was something happening. But I mean, I don't know about you, but over the last few weeks, it seems to have been getting progressively worse.
I mean, are you surprised he lasted this long? In truth, I mean, 17 games on the face of it. I think we both sort of feel the same way that
Yeah,
managers should be given
Not
time.
just yet.
But in many respects, it seemed like Rangers or the Rangers hierarchy were quite patient with him. In when you actually think about the sort of the fan reaction and what have you. I mean, he didn't have a lot of support there, did he?
No, I mean, I think that there's one thing that won't change is the fans supporting the football club. That doesn't. Managers will come and go, players will come and go, owners will come and go, but the fans are the ones that live and breathe the football club from the day they're born to the day they pass away. And that's football all over the country. And that's why I thought you go back a few weeks ago, Chris, when the whole thing had changed and the fans were on. There was no way back from that. You kind of just got the feeling it was just a matter of time. I think it's probably moved on to other positions within the football club now with the fans when you see the incidents in the hotel and that during the week, and whether that will disappear now because Russell Martin has left the building basically. But ultimately, we know how football works. You win games of football and you're okay. You don't, then you're under pressure. And I do think as if there's been I do think, sorry, that the whole recruitment process at Rangers hasn't been good enough. Russell Martin has been part of that with some of the players, but there is no doubt for me that a lot of the fingerprints of other people are over some of the transfers as well, and they have to be held accountable as well, because Russell Martin has lost his job because of results. But for me, there is a lot going on at Rangers right now that would worry me if I was a fan. Because Russell Martin's lost his job, but there is no way. I mean, that he's signed all those players. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I think the situation at Rangers it runs deeper, doesn't it, than just Russell Martin. It's interesting you're saying about the sort of incident in the hotel, with the Rangers hierarchy, whether that had anything to do with him being pushed when he was pushed. I agree that it was sort of results driven. But yeah, I think the whole when you look back and the whole of the 49ers takeover, the excitement with that, a new dawn at Rangers, new guy coming in who's going to play progressive football. Rangers fans didn't see progressive football. I think that was a big issue. You ally that with results, and there wasn't anything to sort of hang on to. But I do think it runs a lot deeper than Russell Martin. I think Patrick Stewart now comes under pressure. I think Kevin Thelwell, even the thing, a few days ago, appointing his son
Talking about time.
I mean, it's unbelievable. The optics and the optics, and Russell Martin came in for a hell of a lot of flack, didn't he, for going up Conic Hill and the old cold water bathing. But I mean, the optics on Kevin Thelwell at the time, when Rangers are under serious pressure, then employing his son. I mean, that's such a
Yeah, I mean,
strange
I
thing.
think it'll be another, long list of questions that will need answered, and there is no doubt Rangers fans will be, demanding that they hear from the hierarchy of Rangers Football Club. They said they wouldn't be here to speak on a regular basis, but whenever there was issues that needed addressed, they would be here to speak. So there is no doubt that they're going to have to address this. You look at on the pitch. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I kind of get the feeling that there has been a disrespect towards Scottish football. There's a lot of players arrive from English football that probably thinks that Scottish football is easy. Chris, you made that change yourself, and there's no doubt that your thoughts would have changed once you came up here. It's not an easy environment to play here. You might have, I don't think that personally, if you make it in the professional game, you're not a bad footballer. You've obviously got something, but there's one thing playing in Glasgow especially, it tests is your character. Your character is questioned to represent Rangers or Celtic, and I don't see it. I think a lot of the Rangers players are struggling.
Is that on the players, or is that on the coach though, or the recruitment, or the person who recruited to bring these players up? I mean, is that your genuine feeling, is that players who come up from south of the border, especially from the Championship, feel that the Scottish League is going to be a breeze and they underestimate it?
I think they do, yeah. I think that there is no doubt that, you probably look at Scottish football, Rangers, Celtic, two big clubs who can go up there. I don't think, speak about Rangers, because Celtic have actually done okay in that market when you think of people like Matt O'Reilly who came up and done really well and they were able to move them on for big money. But when you look at a lot of the Rangers ones that we felt as if would have arrived and do well, Todd Cantwell, Tom Lawrence, Ben Davies, they've all left with their tail between their legs and went back down the road. You then look at the recruitment from...
Is it the standard of football though, or is it the size of club and the demands of the club? I think
they struggle to deal with it. The two things I think that the demands that the club put on you, the pressure, the demands to win games of football, you have to win. There is no getting away from it. And I know Russell spoke about it yesterday that, he felt as if you have to win, but do it in a style as well. You don't, because, how many games did you play in your Celtic career where you come off the field and you're like, we weren't very good today, but we found a way to win?
Probably about two.
You must have only played 10 games that season. But, and that's where you need to understand that, as an institution, both clubs, you need to win games of football. It means so much to so many people. You're representing a club that for a number of years now has been underperforming, that needs to start getting results on a regular basis and start challenging Celtic to win trophies, and they've failed to do that. I know it's very difficult to look at players. You can go and watch them, their attributes on a pitch, and it's very difficult to tell what type of character they are. They got that winning mentality. Can they deal with the pressures of playing in Glasgow? That you can't, you struggle to deal with that until you get there. But for me, there has been so many of that out in the dressing room already, whereas if you go back years ago, there was probably 10, 15 that understood what it took to be a Rangers player or a Celtic player for that. And when you came up, you bought into their way of thinking. Whereas now, you're just going into a dressing room where it is what it is. I've said it, I think a lot of the Rangers players have hit the glass ceiling in terms of the level they're at, in terms of probably their wages as well. And when you get there, it's very difficult to motivate yourself every single day. And I think there's a lot of Rangers players struggling to deal with the demands. It's difficult. It's a difficult place to play, even when you're winning. But it's a lot harder when you're not, Kris.
So you're talking about the new players coming up and not being able to handle the demands, but also there is the players who have been there for a long time, and I described them as serial losers and took a lot of flack for that. But that's still, and there is still an element of Rangers players who are still at the club, who are still there, who haven't moved on. Is that a problem, and is that going to be a problem for the new manager, whoever it is?
Well, I think, Kris, you go back to the start of the season and, we'd covered a lot of games and we kind of got the feeling that, we'd spoken about it before even the season had started when Rangers signed Max Aarons. You felt as if that was going to be the end of James Tavernier. But because Max Aarons hasn't been able to threaten James Tavernier, he's now one of the first names in the team sheet again. There was rumours of new goalkeeper coming in. Would that have seen the end of Jack Button? You've got John Souttar's contract situation. Rangers stated that they didn't want players to be leaving in free contracts. There was that, whole thing. Are we going to sell? Will the club going to sell John Souttar? You then go into the middle of the pitch, the Nico Raskin scenario. Why that was able to materialise and not be addressed and nipped in the bud straight away. You've then went.
He handled that badly.
Eh?
He handled it.
100%.
Russell Martin handled the Raskin situation badly. Yeah, I think we've both spoken about, if it's your best player, you've got to find a way of getting him on side and getting him into the team. I just wonder whether that's a regret. Do you think Russell Martin? Do you think that he was happy to be put out of his misery in the end, or do you think that he could argue that he wasn't given long enough because of what he came into?
Well, I think every manager will argue they weren't given long enough in the end up when they ultimately lose their job. But the big thing is you need to win games of football to be given that chance to keep your job long term. And Kris, we're not paying disrespect to the other clubs in Scotland. Rangers should be beating the teams they have come up against so far in the Scottish Premiership. There's no getting away from it. Yes, Europe, it might be a different kettle of fish, but Rangers, even in Europe in recent years, have done well. So that is a different conversation. But domestically, Rangers have failed miserably so far. There's no getting away from it. I touched on it yesterday in the show as well, that when you look at the grounds that Rangers have been to, they've not been to Pittodrie, they've not been to Tynecastle, they've not been to Celtic Park, they've not been to Tannadice, they've not been to Rugby Park. Grounds where it can be difficult. So, as I said yesterday, if this was to continue, it was only going to get worse for Rangers. But again, that's down to the character of the players. Can they go and perform in these stadiums where it is difficult to go? You're asked questions. The Rangers team's struggling. Going back to the recruitment side of it, when you're signing players for £8-9 million, whatever Chinmiti cost, he has to come in and be the best player in Scotland. I mean, he's I don't even know if he's the best striker at Rangers, never mind the best player in Scotland, for that type of money.
But Russell Martin will say, well, that's a Kevin Thelwell signing it. And we would all look from the outside in thinking, well, surely it must be.
Yeah, I agree.
Saying,
and that's where I think that, Russell Martin will be cut some slack in terms of the recruitment policy. Some of the players he's worked with, and there's no doubt that he's been part of that. But looking at it, there is a lot of the head of recruitment, director of football, and Kevin Thelwell that is involved in this. And by the way, rightly so, if, that's your role and that's what you want to do. But I don't think you can be taking a chance on players, especially when you need to win and at that type of money. And the thing for me is, Rangers have taken a chance or a gamble on so many players trying to hit the jackpot. When you look at Celtic,
but doesn't every club do that though?
Yeah, but what I'm saying, when you look at Celtic, whether there's maybe 6 or 7 players there that no matter if they have an outstanding season, good or a really bad season, they will still be at Celtic next year because of that DNA that runs right through the football club. Rangers don't have that. Rangers don't, I know James Tavernier's been there for a number of years now, but they don't have a structure right through the club that, the DNA is in the football club. You go back to even Dick Advocat team, you played against that. There was still some Scottish players played in that understood, what it took to play for Rangers on a daily basis, win games of football. And I don't think that that's there. And I think that's why Rangers have struggled. The recruitment, I can't sit here and slaughter the last 2 head of recruitments and then, not say anything on this one, because this one is arguably been as bad, because Rangers have spent an absolute fortune in the summer, and they've got worse. They've gotten worse.
Mm-hmm. So the names that are being bandied around, Steven Gerrard, there's Kevin Muscat, there's Sean Dyche. First of all, before I get your opinion on who you think should be the next Rangers manager, you've sort of already mentioned it, but what sort of dressing room is this next Rangers manager walking into? When I say that, what sort of dressing room? In terms of, first of all, quality, but then in terms of character. What's he got to work with?
Oh. I think if you go back to the last few managers that have arrived, they've been able to get a tune out of the players straight away. Yes, it's frittered away and they've not been able to continue that over a sustained period of time, but they were able to get a reaction out of the group straight away. That's not been the case with Russell Martin. So, I mean, it remains to be seen, what a lot of these players are all about. There is no doubt, I'll say it again, to get to, Rangers, you have to be a good player. There has to be something there. But to be a success, there has to be other attributes that fall in that your character. That you've got to have that resilience, because you're going to get flack no matter what. You've got to put up with it. I'm not sure if that's there. A new manager come in, they might get a new manager bounce. I don't think that it's everybody speaks about that new manager bounce. It's not a given, because the pressures and demands are still going to be there. But I think there needs to be someone who gets respect from the dressing room straight away. And again, I think you go back to the Motherwell game with Russell Martin. I didn't mind the outburst then, but they've been too frequent. That they have. It's been every second game. There's been an outburst of throwing players under the bus, a questioning them, and then all of a sudden you get a victory at Livingston, and the mentality of the group was really good, and they're fighting, and then all of a sudden 4 days later there's no fight in the group. you're questioning players every single game. You know yourself. If you're in that dressing room, you're going to be like, what is the manager talking about here? 1 minute we're good, the next minute we're not. I think a lot of the players didn't know if they were coming or going. 1 week they're out, they're out the team for a period of time, then they're back in, then they're out again, and then it's somebody else that goes out. So I don't think there's ever been that continuity with the team, or the belief that towards the manager that he's got full trust in him. Hence the reason I don't think we could sit here right now and pick Russell Martin's strongest, or his, what would have been his strongest 11. Because, it's one of those ones where players are on the bench that seem to become better players when they're not playing. So would go back to the question, would a new manager get... I think he would. I think somebody coming in would get a reaction out of this group. Because I'll say it again, Europe is difficult. We know that. You have to outperform a lot of times to get results. But there is no way that Rangers should be in the position they're in domestically. So I think that a new manager coming in would get an improvement, yeah.
So when you say get an improvement, is there a new manager coming in, is what he has to work with capable of winning the league this season?
Well, I mean, you go back a couple of weeks ago, and I said where Rangers were, if it continued, that it was going to be very difficult to challenge at the top end of the table. But I think what's happened at Celtic over the last couple of weeks, there is a little, there's a bit of vulnerability there as well. They've managed to find a way to obviously get the 3 points against Motherwell, and that's what champions do. They find a way to get results. They do. At one point yesterday, Rangers were 4 points behind Celtic, and you think that Rangers are in crisis mode, albeit it's 9 points now at the end of the game, and that's the be all and end all. But it just shows you how quickly this league can change. Do I think Rangers have got any chance of winning the league? No, I don't. But I don't think you can. I mean, I know I had given up on it a few weeks ago because I didn't see any way that Russell Martin was going to lose his job, and I didn't see that enough there to suggest to me that Rangers were going to get better. But if Rangers go and get a manager in that can galvanise this group and start getting results, I'm not saying that they're going to win the league, but they can definitely get a lot closer to Celtic. Hearts, on the other hand, they're another one where you think, fair play to them, what a start they've had. I don't think there'll be the drop-off that they've seen from Aberdeen last year. So, both of those teams are going to be up there. They're going to win more games than they lose. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough ask, but I don't think the league's over, no. That's a ton of events inside 5 weeks, 3 weeks.
Well, it is. So who do you think will be next Rangers manager? Who do you want to be next Rangers manager?
You obviously mentioned a few names there, didn't you? Steven Gerrard's the one that a lot of Rangers fans are looking at and saying Steven Gerrard would but I mean, I'm not too sure in that one. I think
is there a split in the fan base with that?
I mean, I think because of what's happened recently, everybody would just want somebody who. When you look at Steven Gerrard the last time, albeit he won a league, but there is no doubt.
One trophy out of 9, wasn't it?
Sorry?
St Johnstone won more trophies than...
Yeah, I know, but he stopped Terry Monroe. But, I think that there is no doubt that when Steven Gerrard arrived at Rangers, the respect was there from the players, the standards around the place were lifted. That doesn't make you're going to be a success. He had a lot of good players his first time, Steven Gerrard.
That's it, isn't it? And if Steven Gerrard comes back into Rangers and looks with respect and watches all the games back from this season and looks what he has to work with, do you think he's going to really want that challenge? Another issue for the manager, what was seven league games in start of the season, so all these 31 to play, and do you think that a manager will just will look at the players and think that that the squad is capable of winning the league? Does he want to be, is it going to be a work in progress? The new Rangers manager coming in will have to hit the ground running, whether you like it or not, with what he's got to work with. That's not an easy task, is it?
No, but I'll say it again. I don't think that a lot of players are bad players at Rangers. I mean, they're struggling right now in terms of confidence and belief, and whether that was the style of play, what they were asked to be doing, I don't think they were comfortable with that high line that Russell Martin wanted to play, and there was a disconnect without right throughout the team. I mean, right now, we both played up front. Both of us would be pulling our hair out. I'd need to get another hair transplant. But, I think when you look at, you'd be pulling your hair out with a lack of opportunities that's created for you as a striker. And that would be one thing that any manager coming in would look to change. You need to get balls in the box. You need to create opportunity. I mean, Miovski's shown that he can score goals. Chermiti remains to be seen. As I said, for me, if you're spending that type of money, he needs to be better than what he is. But Bojan Miovski will score goals. We've seen that yesterday, in and around an area. The one time the ball was in the box, he scores a goal. So there is some good players there to work with, but going back to the managerial thing, Kevin Muscat's obviously someone who's doing okay, and because of Ange Postecoglou came from that league, and everybody thinks 2 and 2, it's not as easy as that. Sean Dyche, another one. Obviously, Kevin Stillweller's been a big Everton connection there. Whether they, are at a level where a working relationship to move forward together. Whether Sean Dyche wants to come to Scotland, I don't know. The interesting one for me would be, Derek McInnes, who has started really, really well in the capital, asking questions.
Would he want to downsize?
Well, I don't think he'd be downsizing, that's for sure. He might be going down the table, but he wouldn't be downsizing. But again,
isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting? I mean, really interesting, isn't it? The Derek McInnes situation, because of like all his history with Rangers, the Aberdeen stuff, and what have you. But right now, his Hearts team sit top of the table. Is looking at the Celtic performances this season. Their squad isn't what it was last season. They're not playing well. The football is flat. It's pretty dull. Is looking at Rangers and their performance levels this season. They've been absolutely woeful. I mean, why would he leave Hearts for Rangers right now when he has a chance to create history at Hearts?
Yeah, listen, I get that, and you've got to take all of that into consideration, but. Rangers are still Rangers Football Club. They're still a huge institution in Scotland. Derek has grown up a Rangers fan. I don't think he's tried to hide that. He's played with the club. He gets it. The thing for me, and listen, I'm not somebody who, there was a lot made with Russell Martin, his attire, and, you've got to have the brown brogues on and the shirt and tie. I don't think that, you need to go right into that. I think what you need to do is somebody who has got respect for Scottish football, who understands how to win games of football in Scotland. Derek McInnes has definitely got that, added to the fact that he knows the DNA of the football club. And he's shown that. I mean, a lot of people, even a few Hearts fans would have been questioning the appointment of Derek McInnes when he left Kilmarnock because of what happened last year. But he's went through there. He's got a feel-good factor in Edinburgh already. Listen, I think, I don't think it'll happen personally. I don't. But if it's me, if I'm Rangers, it would be the one I would be going trying to get, because not only
number one on the Boyd list.
Number one for me. What about you? Who's number one in the Sutton list?
Number one.
Well, you linked me with it last night.
Yeah. No, that was it. Well,
your sources were telling you.
Would you take me in with you?
Who were you speaking to? Who was your sources?
So,
never reveal your sources. Is it one of those ones?
I can't reveal my sources. I think Sean Dyche should be the one. I mean, what's interesting, and you have said it, and you know Rangers, far better than I know it. But I always thought brand of football would matter to Rangers fans, to Celtic fans. You've said it's just about winning, and so therefore, if you want somebody to come in and get the best out of a group who is proven at doing that, I think Sean Dyche is extremely effective. Did a brilliant job at Burnley with very, very small resources. Actually, if you look at what happened to him at Everton, eventually got the sack. But when he went in, the mess he took over, I thought he did an excellent job. So I think that someone with his clout, also you need a thick skin. I'm not so sure Russell had a really thick skin. He used to say that he did. I'm not so sure that he did. I think Sean Dyche, ticks that box. So I'd probably err towards him. My gut feeling with regards to Gerrard, he'll probably look at the squad and think, that's not the squad I had first time round. And, have I got the ability to go and spend 25, 30 million? Because essentially that's what a new manager's going to come in and say. Well, the squad's not good enough. Players aren't good enough. The recruitment's been a disaster. You've got to give me 25, 30 million to turn things around. And I'm not so sure Rangers are, whether they have the sort of the clout to go and do that again. So
I think
yeah,
the worry
they
would be,
would.
Kris, on that in terms of the clout and the money that Rangers have had. They seem to have wasted it elsewhere. Listen, these guys might become good players in the future, but it's the here and now. You need to win. When you think of, Manuel Fernandes, a centre back from Peterborough. I mean, it's reported that it was nearly £3 million, a project player. Bajrami a couple of years ago, and Oscar Cortez, it was done before. But the money that Rangers have spent and wasted on players, I don't think we can sit here anymore and say that Rangers don't have the money, to go and challenge. When you actually look at it and calculate it up, they've spent an absolute fortune and got worse.
Mm. Mm. Is there a chance of it being an interim appointment?
Well, I mean, I don't think the fans buy into that. And sorry, it was one of the questions you asked earlier regarding Russell Martin. Was he given a lot longer than what I thought? Maybe the Rangers board looked at it from a point to get to this window. And they had started speaking to people a couple of weeks ago, and it was always because there was rumours flying about yesterday, before the game that it was going to be Russell Martin's last game, no matter what. That suggests to me that there might have been something, or already spoken to someone, got something sorted. That remains to be seen if that is the case. But if you're doing your job properly, that should be the case. I always feel as if as soon as a manager's appointed, you should start looking for the next one. With different criterias. Because if you want to say you're a big football club and you want to be run properly, then that's what needs to happen. I mean, I'll go back to the start, Kris. Personally, I felt as if Russell Martin would have been a good appointment for Rangers. I thought he would have came in. You're speaking about style of play, been able to do that. Looking at Russell,
never showed it though, did he? That's what surprised
and
me.
that was the glaring thing in the end up where you could see if you go back to Ange Postecoglou, you could see a style of play that was coming to fruition, and he was able to get it in the end up. It was taking time, but we've not seen that with Rangers. There's not been anything to suggest this is going to get any better.
Does there have to be a Scottish connection, or an association with the football club? Russell Martin had an association with the football club.
I don't think you need to have an association with Rangers as a football club. I think what you need to do is understand Scottish football, because I think there has been a disrespect, not only from maybe Russell Martin and his staff. But, a lot of people at Rangers Football Club have thought that Scottish football is going to be easy. They're going to, be able to bring.
Do you think Russell thought that, though? I mean,
Yeah, I thought he did. I thought. I mean, there is no doubt that when you listen to some of his interviews and try to convince a lot of people that there was improvement there, even yesterday. I mean, I'm sitting watching. I don't understand what you're talking about. I really do. And I get when you come to the end of your tenure and you know that it's coming to an end, you're clutching at straws. But for me, there has been a lack of respect towards Scottish football from I would say Rangers in terms of the recruitment, and that has to change, because and I know Scottish football might be looked upon even from down south as it's not the best. It's a difficult league to play in.
I just want to pick you up on something you said earlier about the brown brogues. I find all this really sort of fascinating, and the tradition. I do. I find it. Not just yet. But I do find it fascinating because of Russell in his first. He did his first interview and wasn't dressed as a lot of Rangers fans would have liked to have seen him dressed. Is that a thing? Is that really that important? Explain that to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously that every manager that's been in has had that tradition and that history running through the club. And listen, I get it. I mean, society's changed nowadays, but when you're not winning games of football, every little thing gets picked up on. Everything gets questioned. If Russell Martin had been winning games of football, there would probably still been people moaning about it, but it doesn't matter. We're winning games of football, so it's fine. We'll just go on with it. Whereas when you're not winning games, everything is highlighted, everything is spoken about, and there is no doubt that there's things that Russell has said and done, and not war that has added to the pressure from the Rangers fans. But that's just Glasgow. That's why we love it. Maybe the football's rubbish, but the stories are brilliant.
So if you want some brown brogues men back, what about Barry and and Dodsey.
No, I don't.
And,
I don't
and
see.
Neil now.
I don't see. I don't see. I think from Barry's point of view, if Rangers go down the interim route, then I wouldn't be anywhere near it if I was him. You know, he's already went in there and done that and shown that you know, he was capable of managing Rangers. Albeit, you know, I don't think it was a level that everybody thought it was at. Even though there was some poor performances in there as well. But for me, if I'm Barry Ferguson, I'd be looking for a full-time contract. If you know, if he's the man to take the club forward, I wouldn't be doing it in an interimship.
Do you think that's a possibility then?
I can't see it. I mean, I think for the board to put their hands up and admit that they've got the Russell Martin appointment wrong is fine, fair enough, because results have shown that. But if you then rewind, you know, 3-4 months ago, they're more or less saying that, you know, removing Barry is wrong as well, because they've moved him on to bring in Russell Martin. Both, well, Russell Martin's definitely failed, to then go back to Barry Ferguson, Neil McCann and Billy Dodds. I don't think that would be the case. I really don't. Listen, football's a strange game. You never know. But I don't think that would be the case. So you're going for Sean Dyche?
Sean Dyche, yeah. Last, very last question. Do you think Rangers will finish in the top half?
Oh, my days. What do you think?
Do you think if you had to predict, that was poor from me. If you had to predict where Rangers would finish right now, impossible. It's impossible because you don't know who the manager's going to be. But I'm gonna ask you, because you are, I mean, you know, Mystic Meg. You've predicted Rangers for the last sort of 20 years, and they've barely won anything. So go on. Give us a league finish.
Where do I think they'll finish? Well, I think, you know, if you go back 7 or 8 weeks ago, I said they would finish top. But with all that's going on right now, you know, the state that the club's been in on the pitch. So a new manager coming in, I still think they're going to win it. By the way, I meant to say to you, it's nice that you've got one of your brother John Sutton's man of the match bottles there behind you as well. Beautiful.
That's right. Yeah, he scored more goals than me in Scotland. Yeah. Did you know that? Yeah.
But you're going to tell me where you get your sources from? Who was telling you I was involved in the communication to take over?
I just cannot. I can't reveal my sources, Chris. You're better than that.
Would you come in with me?
Well, it depends on the financial package, Chris, as you will know.
Yeah, my drivers are well paid. My drivers are well paid.
If we were on the same money, yes.
Yeah. You'd be my driver, mate.
Good stuff.
This is an unexpected one, but it's always good to say goodbye. See you, friend.
See you, Chris. You asked, we listened. The warm-up is now available in podcast format. It's available on Apple, on Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Keep supporting us and check us out.
Spread the word.
Spread the word. Thank you.